Hello there. Hi all. Hi dude, I see you in there. Welcome to another Origins. Yap and Doodle. Let me check and make sure the volume is okay. How's it sound out there? Probably okay. Alright. What to do today? So last time, I did a whole lot of yapping and not much doodling, but there wasn't really anybody watching, so that was okay. Kind of needed to maybe get it out of my system. Sometimes you have to get the yap out. So, today, I think I'm probably going to do a few different things. I'm slowly building up some pictures for a lore video I want to do. And I showed some of them last time. And today I kind of want to continue on that and show just kind of like how I block things out. Excuse me. Let me get a sip. Okay, so let me hop down to a corner of the universe here. Hi. Hi. Boop, boop, boop. Small, 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 small. A little smaller. Okay, right here. Ah! Okay, I'm back. I just had to get some energy out. Okay. Alright, here I am in my time and place. Alright, so what do I want to paint here? So the very earliest point in the lore is essentially a time called the Early Epoch that was tens of thousands of years long. And I did actually already kind of work on something for this, and I will show you. Looks like this, and started to draw. So these are my people, the Jinn. They are wandering around out in the desert. And these are Jinn that came down from the astral plane. Almost all of them were originally people on Earth. Most of them don't remember their time on Earth. Some of them do. As opposed to me, who is a Jinn who was born in the astral plane. You can be born in any plane. And in my case, during the early epoch, I had 5 wings. And I kind of thought I wanted to draw that picture just being, very vain and conceited, self-centered. I wanted to just paint myself again. Or at least start to, and then move on to another one. And I want to do a bunch of paintings, working up to this lore video. So I think I'll start on that. I would be out here with my people, wandering around blissfully. We wouldn't see the world the way people would. We see all kinds of other wonderful things in life and creatures. We see change. We see things in a way full of possibility and potential. And what we're seeing here is probably, I would think, the feeling of things to come. And we're being led towards a place that we can call home. Let me close this up for now. Let me decide how it is that I want to paint this. So many of my paintings are done in the desert because that's where I lived so much of my life. So it just kind of comes naturally to me to want to paint that. But I may shake this up a little bit and actually paint this at an unusual time of day. And maybe in a slightly unusual place. I'm thinking a canyon would be neat. So I'm going to kind of scribble down some walls where I think that this scene might take place. Oh, forgot I'm on a background layer. So maybe you're looking towards the distance and you see the edges of canyon walls. And you can't really see the sun except where it comes straight down. So maybe those are the walls, and maybe I'll paint the ground like this, where the ground lives. It snakes away down the canyon. And we'll give a little bit of maybe some tone like this to the walls. So what am I doing in this narrow canyon? Probably just standing around looking pretty. Or farming, as it were. So how you doing today, dude? I'll probably be a little bit more quiet on this stream. Unless there's good conversation. I always say I'll be quiet, and I end up just yapping. Tired, not the best, but present. I'm so sorry to hear that you're not the best. Hopefully we can improve that a little bit here by just spending time together. Giving you something to focus on for a little bit. Or if you're tired, you can take a little nap, and that's perfectly fine too. All are welcome here. Except the mean, nasty little ones. And we like to pick them off. I don't think I've never had to kick somebody from this channel so far. Cross your fingers. It's not a very popular channel. That's not really that surprising, I guess. It's in the learning phases anyway. I'm actually really thankful that I have most of my time to just kind of learn streaming and learn the ropes a little bit. Just learn to relax. I like being able to, I have an archive of what I've worked on and, just kind of be able to look and see, oh yeah, the amount of yapping to doodling is acceptable. So, yeah. This canyon, I'll just continue into the background, I guess. So if I'm thinking, if you're really looking at something like this, your tendency when you're illustrating is to try to make contrast between edges and things like that. But the reality is that sometimes if you're looking at something like this, like if you ever go to a park where there's canyons and things, you can kind of, without depth perception, you can kind of lose track of where things are. Now, of course, you have depth perception though, so you can see what's in the distance versus the foreground. But if you're looking at a picture of a complex kind of a maze of canyons, it's not always clear. One of the biggest ways that you can tell is the diffusion of light in the atmosphere which is caused by light bouncing off of particles like dust and water, will make things look a little bit more faded in the background. Some of the light that was reflecting off of surfaces in the far background end up looking a little bit more faded. So one tactic is to just paint everything kind of the colors that would be without that effect, and then later on go back and fade the background details a little bit. Little cues like that give you depth. I'm just creating some base colors here at first, just to kind of know, like, where's the shadows, where's the highlights, things like that. I'm going to deepen some of these colors with an overlay. And I'm going to add a little bit of color to that overlay so that I get more out of it, palette-wise. Add some highlights, create a little chaos. So I'm just I'm doing a little structuring of the things in the picture, but mostly I'm looking critically at what the palette would end up being. Alright, so let's go ahead and merge that down. So now I get to choose. I say, okay, I really like this color in the highlights. Make sure it kind of follows the profile of the wall that I've chosen. And then I like this color to be more underneath, like underneath an overhang like this. And then just play with it. So actually this seems to be more of a good middle. This color seems to be more of a good middle color for walls that are more straight up and down. And they'll have lots of little contrast in them as well. This color is better for where the sun is hitting more directly. I played with my brush a little bit in the tools before this stream, so I've got a little bit of a better curve, which I don't think you can see these submenus. Yeah, you can't really see them, but you can set the curve so that, you know, as you add more pressure to the stylus, you come out with more or less paint, so to speak. So I set it to something I really like. Give me a little bit more control, but still allow me to provide, have a little bit of, have some heaviness, I guess, when I want it. So I can really slap it on like that. Which I will do in a couple of places. Mainly working light. As you can see, I'm going to add a little bit darker tone to this for heavier, harder shadows. I'm trying to get more detailed with my pictures without taking too much more time. And I think that that's coming with experience. Make these rocks look banded and interesting. There was a 3D, like a virtual reality desert scene that I made that had sand blowing through the air and rocks with lots of geologic banding in them, and all underground area with these abandoned sort of rusting structures and some jump scares. And it was called Buried. It was on a platform called Altspace. I think I still might have the 3D files from it. I lost almost everything, though, that I made for Altspace, unfortunately. But I think Buried was one of the ones that got preserved. more red banding in here. These rocks almost look like the steppe where ancient lava flows millions and millions of years ago would have piled up and eroded slowly over time. There was a very inhospitable time in our Earth's history where tremendous volcanism was just making life very difficult to exist. And produced a lot of mountainous regions in the Middle East, Iran today, Persia. Some of the places I've haunted. There's a lot in the world that is just feels like it's gone forever. I think that's one of the... Well, I'll start by saying that there is a lot of things that a lot of time doesn't change. But then there are things that you feel like you've seen incredible beauty and you'll never see it again. And I'll tell you, I've seen some very, very beautiful places in my time. There's sort of this untranslatable concept of a kind of nostalgia that arises from eons of living, a kind of a heartache. And it actually interestingly translates into a becoming of the things you've seen. In essence, that you sort of have an inner universe that you are becoming a creator of. They say that as you go up in astral layers, your perception of time becomes more broad, and it's possible that when you get to a certain point, you take part in the creation of the universe all over again, which I think is a really beautiful thought. It's very comforting to Jin. as they get older, they feel this sort of compelling force, that this kind of sadness or melancholy, this drawing in of the world into some weird internal state, and a need to create all over again has been often described. There is no end and no beginning. This is getting a very contrasty, multi-palette treatment right now, and in just a bit, we're going to have to pull some of this back together with its depth and all the other things that tie this picture. I think it's really beautiful to think that, well, first of all, I don't really, I don't believe that there's like one direction of time. And if you get high enough in the astral planes, you basically, at time just becomes simultaneous. And I think it's beautiful to think that we eventually ascend to becoming the creators of the universe we remember. That there becomes no difference between past and future anymore. It's like a loop. It just exists as it is. There's a fractal order to the creation of the universe, after all. Sort of like a function, like a fractal set. It just kind of exists wherever it is that you plug in the variables. Any time, place. places where the sand is kind of piled up because it's fallen through gaps in the rocks. I love little things like that. Sand's blown down in here. It's blown out soft rock in places where eddies have carried it around. Let's save this already, huh? Okay. 1 second, let me grab a drink. Okay. Let's hit this with some overlay. We can get rid of this layer for now so that we don't confuse. Very light. Pick up some of the highlights here. Overlay having the effect of actually seeming to add glow or light to things when used in measure. We can do that more in the foreground than in the background. I like how it picks up the contrast of some of those colors a little bit more. Also do this for the floor of the canyon, which is just soft sand. And now let's do some shadowing in. Basically burning in these shadows a little bit more. There's a few places where it seems after painting that there would be more shadow than I've created. So I'm going to create those, burn those in a little bit more. You know, I'm thinking it'd be kind of fun to add some water to this picture. I don't know where I would do it yet. A waterfall would seem strange given the nature of these rocks. Alright, gotta merge this and do a new overlay layer. Give some macro shadow. So this is shadow that kind of exists on a larger scale. Follows more like broad features of the rock. Would be closer to where the rocks are. And then light on some of the broader areas where that exists, and I'll add a little bit of color to that. It's probably too much color. There we go. Give it a glowiness. So I'm starting to bring this picture together a little bit. The palette's starting to look a little bit more uniform because of these processes that I'm doing. Now kind of do some cleanup here. Separate these structures a little bit better. A lot of color picking. Give them a little bit more division. Foreground to background. Sorry, I'm saying a lot. That's kind of a tick, actually. Happens when I have like coffee, a lot of coffee in my system sometimes. which I do. Give some more sharp definition to some of these areas. A little more color. So that I get the contrast between foreground and background right. This music kind of reminds me of like a Ken Burns documentary. You know, like the Civil War stuff. Like, starts with a letter. Dear Martha, how I miss you and the children. The camp has been very cold, but we warm our hearts with the songs of home. I send this letter to you as we are about to cross into a valley. There is sure to be trouble. I'm sending home a small stipend. I don't know. Jedediah Watley, 1823. Now it sounds more like Final Fantasy. we still missing something? We're missing something here. Let's give some harder edges for these rocks, especially in the foreground. Fill in some of these fuzzinesses from the background to foreground. And looks like there's actually a pretty good overhang here, so that needs a little bit more shadow, huh? Let's work on this side a little bit so I don't become bored. Don't want to become bored. No, not the bored. Not the boredom. So much boredom. Maybe there's a good little stream of sand coming down right here. Can put some more sand streams. Maybe a little pile here. Alright, so let's do brush, airbrush. Here we're adding some atmospheric effects. So this will help the situation with the foreground background. Now go overlay. Work on this contrast a little bit in the foreground where the contrast would pop out more. Got some weird stuff going on there. I'm gonna merge that. Okay. So let's work on that weird stuff. Just a couple of brush strokes that kind of added distraction instead of looking like the rest of the rocks. I think that it's a little bit too something bright, not colorful enough. in some of these areas. Oh, no, we don't want to do that with that. We want to do this with overlay for sure. Okay. Overall, also, let's merge that. I think that this whole area, these walls are a little bit too bright in general. I'm trying to think what. Is it multiply that helps? Yeah, I think multiply should help with this a little bit. I just don't want them to stand out quite that much. That looks like garbage. I don't like that. Actually, you know the thing to do would be just to put that back on and then change blending modes with the layer and see which one does the right job. Let's see. I don't know that there is one that does the perfect job, so I'm going to go with overlay. I'm just going to work down the highlights a little bit with black. And it looks oversaturated, so I mean I'm going to have to come back with some saturation correction here. And for that, I am just going to go like this. Make it look a little less goofy. Okay. I really want the saturation of the sand to stand out more. Like these reds and stuff in the rock shouldn't be quite so dramatic. Or they could be, but I can pick them up where I want it now. So this is helping again to make the picture a little bit more uniform. So now if I choose an orange color, I can highlight certain areas that I stand out like a vein or something. To give it a little bit more interesting look than if everything just looks that way. Now the sand, where it's pouring down, can get a little bit of highlight. And spots. Let me change my brush back. Even the sand is a little bit oversaturated. Let's merge this. And do a little bit of lightening up on the sand. Save. Okay. So now, I think with this, we can save this again. Change this back to normal, and now I can start thinking of painting an aura. Let's do that. Aura would be, you know, the perspective is kind of wonky too. I always do this like angle straight down. Now I'm looking at it and realizing I'm not sure that I like that. So I have different ways of trying to fix this. I can make this a step, or I can kind of skew and rotate this whole thing up, or I can annihilate the bottom part of this painting, which, let's see how that looks if I did that. Like if I just made this so that this was much more like flat ground in here, and just it just ends like right here. It might not be so horrible. I could do a combo where I've got a step also and a step over here. Then I've accomplished more flat ground here. Or more of a flat viewing angle. I'm still doing this on another layer because it's kind of an experiment. But this might also help me with my water that I kind of want to put in here somehow. I think this might be the ticket. Maybe that's why I'm walking through this valley, because there's beautiful water here. Maybe that's what's here in the foreground, with some plants. Maybe there's muddy sand here. Naturally, you would expect. Some sand in the water, you can see. Some broad reflections. Let's merge that down. And it failed to merge because I have it locked. Okay, there we go. And overlay. Give the water a little bit more glassiness. Maybe something is happening here at the edge, and there are ripples going out. And really, this is not a job for overlay. This is just a job for a normal brush at this point. Let's go very white. Now, for the shadows, we can do some overlay. Let me think for a second. think opacity down. Well, merge. Need to think about where you're just seeing the bottom because of these ripples. What's underneath? As opposed to reflection and light. Let's pick up the opacity again. Pick up some of this blue. I see, like, I have probably screwed up this arches a little bit, so let's fix that. There would be kind of nodes and anti-nodes in rippling water. It's never like perfect arches. And waves kind of overlap a little. Clean this up around the edge. Get more of the color from the very edge of the water in there, from the edge of the rock that's right next to it, and the reflection. It would be damp, so it's darker. Okay. A little bit more of these rocks from up here should be visible in the reflections. do this part. We want more. No, not like that. Low opacity. Stunning highlights in some of these ripples here would be nice. Merge down. Soften this a bit. And let's bring back a little bit of blue. Maybe even a little green. That's nice. That produces a little bit of contrast, so merge that down. Now, let's talk about this aura. This Aaronic figure. What am I doing here? Am I standing? Am I reaching down in? If I'm reaching in, let's see. Then I have a hand in here. Shoulder. Another hand, another arm. No, I don't think the arm is there. I think I would be supporting myself. And my head is here. My back. I think I'm on my knees. My foot behind me. My beautiful wings, which I miss. the sand is touching the water. All this needs to move to the right to match the ripples. The eyes that used to shine from the tips of my wings like fire. These wings need to get coming out just a little bit more. Perspective is needing a little correction. Now clean up this a little bit and do one eye. Overall, it should be kind of purple. Light ring. Like that. There are other colors in those eyes, but we'll get to that. This is touching the tip just a little bit too much. I'm gonna have to redo that. There. Let's build up these wings a little bit more. Actually, let's give me some shadows. First, of course, my eye band. Wouldn't be quite that bright. There we go. Just some placeholder eyeball. Ah, thumb. Here. I was like, something's wrong there. Don't have to worry about the shadows too much here because um, I'm going to be wearing something, I think. Maybe? Maybe not. I am kind of modestized by my position here, so maybe that's not necessary. When free of a body, generally don't wear attire. Something's not right with the position of my leg. Let's see. That's where that comes from. That is. I think my leg would just be more folded than it is. Let me get the leg shape right, not worry about the hair as much at the moment. I gotta back off here so I can see, because I'm doing some really weird stuff with the anatomy that I don't like. I'm just gonna get this kind of blocked in today, I think. really messy, but that's okay. I'm just blocking it in. Just for fun, before I finish this off, I'm going to play with colors in this. Make it more like it really was, which is kind of this awesome fiery glow around. Somehow this got dulled. Let's do one color at a time. Oh, no, we did. That's how it happened. Oh, misfire. this is missing a little bit of yellow. Perfect. Merge. Well, have to remove the background first, then merge. And let's bring the wings down where there are shadows. Let's put a shadow underneath me. And let's merge that. And on the background, indication of a reflection in the water. Just for fun. Let's do this. All right. I think I'm going to call it here for today. I'm going to export this after the stream. Okay, all. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. I'm enjoying myself immensely. I hope you have a wonderful day, especially you, dude, for coming to my stream. I am so glad. I hope it was a very peaceful rest. I love that I can provide a safe place for you to repose. Alright, take care of yourselves. I will see you next time. Goodbye.